Because if they know, or if they now know, that the Book of Mormon will forever refer to them right now. They don't want to keep it around. They want to burn the book. Travis Wayne Goodsell, on my 19-year-old mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to New York, New York City. I encountered people who thought that the Book of Mormon was an evil, devilish book and racist. And only because it had Jesus Christ in it by name, and that our name tag indicated that we were in support of Jesus Christ, did the adults, primarily the adult women, leave us alone and protect us from the drunken older men, adults, who had served in Vietnam, who were upset with white guys in suits, thinking we were CIA, and especially from their children, who tended to hang out and get provoked whenever they saw white boys. And so I literally was safe and protected on my New York mission. But never did it occur to me that the Book of Mormon wasn't a real history. As I read the Book of Mormon, it talks about the family of Lehi with Laman and Lemuel, who are the older sons. And I would come to find out later on in life that in the ancient tradition, the firstborn birthright blessing son is just that. He gets a double portion of the inheritance. He gets to take over the tribe as well. That's what the birthright and the blessing refer to. And so with that in mind, reading over the Book of Mormon again, it makes a different picture for me. Because here you have Laman, who's supposed to be the leader of the family, and he doesn't care to lead, but by his birthright and his blessing, he just assumes it will be passed to him when Lehi dies. And so when Lehi dies, he realizes the threat that Nephi poses, his younger brother, and seeks to have him assassinated. Thus Nephi has to leave. But the Lamanites, from Laman and his descendants, could not let them go to live their own lives. He found it necessary to hunt them down, travel the whole world if necessary, to find every last Nephite and have them assassinated. And in that context of a heart so pure and evil, and to pass it on to his children for generation after generation after generation, as we look at our world's history, it's white men who have traveled the world and conquered the various indigenous people, who have migrated to their location and have stayed there. They had no interest in branching out to conquer. It's just white men. Although Semites were kind of dark-skinned, but in our more modern time frame, the Assyrian king of old Assyria, Sargon I, he was the first one to that we have on record anyway of being a military conqueror, to go out and expand the kingdom with military conquest. Whereas the Egyptians, the land of Israel, Canaan, was already their property in the first place, so it was just a matter of when there's a rebellion or an insurrection or a failure to provide tribute, that's when they would send the armies to make sure that they paid their tribute. But King Sargon was the first to actually go and seek out tribes beyond the kingdom to expand the land and get greater and greater tribute. And so when you understand that when the Book of Mormon comes out in the early 1800s, and you see that America was founded upon slavery, as white men went into Africa, took hostages, sold them as slaves to American plantation owners. And the Smiths know all about this. They're not naive. No American is naive in thinking that, oh, slavery doesn't exist, it's a hoax. They all know that's the way business was run. And even though there were those, even Joseph Smith in 1844, when he ran for president as an abolitionist, who wanted to do away with slavery, as well as Joseph Smith, it still carries on to this day in the form of corporate business. They're the new plantations. They just change the name, get rid of the plantation, and have corporate logos in place of it, as the stock market becomes their gambling hall. And and so the Lamanites are easily identifiable as white supremacists. But the Lamanites are black. What's up with that? You see, when blacks read the Book of Mormon and they come to the part where the Lamanites turn black, they're instantly offended. And they think that the Book of Mormon is racist. And Brigham Young himself justified his racism by referring to the Book of Mormon. And yet, who are the actual lazy people? They're the white supremacist leaders who get to travel the world, who get to go golfing, while their slaves make their wealth so that they don't have to work. And so when I found out that the Book of Mormon was encoded, oh, that's why the Lamanites are code for white supremacy. the ones who thought ruling and leadership belonged to them by birthright and blessing, and that all else must be subjected to them. And it's kind of an amusing little burn. Do the youth still use burn today? Or have they come up with another term? That it was cleverly encoded to mask white supremacy with blackface. And so, thus, the good, righteous people would be blacks. And I have found the Book of Mormon does refer to black slaves being brought over to America, but they don't really go into detail about it. And I'd have to check the original Book of Mormon, assuming we even have it. I still haven't checked to see if the one the church is claiming is the original is in reality Brigham Young's edited version. But regardless. So, the church, when they were told to tone down the racism, you'll remember, if you're ex-Mormon anyway, that the church took out certain words that, according to those who believe it's an actual history, would thus be racist. Like making Lamanites pure and white again. Again, it's code. And also remember Samuel the Lamanite, who comes to the city of the white people, the capital of the white people, risking his life to tell them, you guys are the ones who are corrupt, because Samuel was a converted white supremacist. Isn't that fun? And he has the name of God on top of it. And as I see that the church has constantly caved to peer pressure with all types of complaints, whether it be women complaining, and so the church says, okay, you can have a bigger speaking role for Eve, you can have slacks for your mission, you can wear slacks to church, we'll put women in some of our other non-priesthood related committees. and for Jews, they say, okay, well, we'll redesign our genealogy program to make sure that Mormons, unless they are direct descendants of Holocaust victims, we won't allow Mormons to do any more rebaptizing of Holocaust victims, as that was a problem. But protecting LDS children from predator bishops. But the church always caves. And they caved in the Book of Mormon as white was removed from the Book of Mormon and replaced with another word. And so as I see the bigger picture now, I see the church pushing this holy hate crime war against the LGBTQIA+ please stop adding letters. Please. They're the ones who gave you the name. All of the discriminatory categories were given the name by white supremacy. Even blacks. The term black came from the Latin, which came from the Romans, who were white. The Latin word niger means black, and it was the white Romans who referred to the Africans as black. White supremacy has always given the abusive names to people because they don't want to consider people human. And once they have succeeded in that psychological warfare of continually pushing over and over repetitiously, enforcing that a person is who they abusedly call them, then they have segregated you. And then they can justify treating you as subhuman. This goes for all groups, including women and the poor, etc. And I can see the church as they still are pushing, and I'm willing to bet they're going to push in conference, that they are hoping that there will be a big enough backlash against the church that the church will say, fine, we will take out the Book of Mormon from Mormonism. Because clearly it's a hated book. Do you know how much money they're going to save by no longer having to publish Book of Mormons? Because they've convinced ex-Mormons and non-Mormons that it's being presented as a historical narrative. And ex-Mormons and those who aren't Mormon see it as a fraudulent book, that it's not a history of the indigenous people. And so they then say, it's just a white supremacist book. And the church will say, okay, fine, we'll get rid of it then. If you guys are going to complain and be snowflakes, we'll get rid of the Book of Mormon. I can see that happening. Only unless Mormons stand up and say, we are going to fight for the Book of Mormon. But how did that go with polygamy? The church caved on polygamy, eventually. Sort of. In part, for appearance's sake. And there were Mormons who were upset and left. And then they started an FLDS church in the early 1900s. That's the main church then reincorporated themselves. And so that then inspired the other groups to say, oh, hell no. They're the false church now. Because they didn't enslave women in polygamy. And if you are wondering, well, how are they going to maintain their religion if they get rid of their origin story? Yeah. I mean, they've already been ignoring and disregarding Joseph Smith. You know, isn't it sad that we had the coronavirus to prevent the church's plans to spend the whole year celebrating the 200th anniversary of the learning of the Jewish Jesus, who appeared as a resurrected being to Joseph Smith face to face. Again, code. And so, yeah, and it was just that conference, and that was it. They then did a news thing of giving token charity to New York, and they specifically only gave out 200 pounds or something of food, as they said, to commemorate the 200th anniversary. That was it. Nothing else about Joseph. They skipped his birthday. They skipped his assassination. Church just doesn't care. The church doesn't even celebrate becoming a state in the Union. Instead, it's the days of 47. And they did all they could to do something for it. The day when they fled America with their hostages. And so, yeah, I see the big picture. Mormons don't see it. And I kind of wonder what that will result in. When the church says, okay, we're dropping the Book of Mormon, will Mormons do what the FLDS did? Start their own religion and use the Book of Mormon? They will have to have it rewritten, unless they come out and say, nope, it's coded. Oh, Travis was right. God damn it. We didn't want him to be right. He's so annoying being so right all the time. Yeah, that's how I was grown up, to pursue truth, not to be told what to believe, because my peers in early grade school let me know that they purposely lied to me, hoping that I would spread their lies. And so when I realized that that's what they were doing, and I couldn't trust any of them, it became necessary for me to pursue the truth. And thus, while sitting in church with the sacrament flyer, I did a video earlier in the week or over the weekend where I put in drawings that I had done as a child. And you'll notice on the first one, I made sure to put the one that showed that it's the church sacrament flyer. All of those were. I did all of those during church sacrament. So, yes, there's a lot of information that I put in my videos that have meaning, or there's a message behind them, whether you realize it or not, or if you are wrong or not. So, well, but I have no idea what you're talking about. And lest I forget, if the church had been clueless this whole time, not knowing that the Book of Mormon was coded, as it seems kind of strange, because Heber C. Kimball seems to indicate that he did know. But if by chance, and maybe when the United States came in and shut the church down in the late 1800s, with the Edmunds-Tucker Act that other apostles didn't know, so it didn't get passed down to those who were not around Joseph Smith and around Heber and Brigham. If that is the case, that they did not know, Nelson and the apostles certainly do know now because of my lawsuit against them. In my lawsuits, I exposed them by referring to the Book of Mormon code. And so their defense counsel have to consult with their clients, say, do you know anything about this code? I've been Mormon all my life. I don't know anything about this. This is just nonsense, isn't it? Yeah, nonsense. Right, yeah, nonsense. Crap, he knows. It's code. Holy crap. Can you imagine that, though? Realizing that the book you're using to trick people into believing you're a religion as a front for committing crimes is actually the book that exposes you. And not just exposes, but gives the time frame for which the particular frauds are going to be activated. Because if you know anything about astronomy, that's a science. You can know the day and the hour. So despite Matthew saying, oh, no man knows the day or the hour, but here's the date with the day and the hour. It's just hilarious. Matthew, that's unbelievable. He gives us the precise date and then says no man knows the day or the hour. Oh, just hilarious. But yeah, the dates as in the Book of Mormon, which come from the Book of Revelation, which are the signs in the heavens giving the day and the hour, are the time period from 2017, the first year of the reign of King Trump, the birth of Nephi, to 2024 with the sign of the death on 8 April. The birth and the death. Just hilarious. And so, yeah, I hope that's the case. I hope they had no clue. But that would be further reasoning why the church wants to get rid of the Book of Mormon as quickly and fast as they can. And so to escalate tensions between blacks, Jews, LGBTQ plus 1A, women, poor, etc., would be to that end. To justify saying, okay, fine, you guys hate us so much, we'll get rid of the Book of Mormon. Are you happy now? Because if they know, or if they now know, that the Book of Mormon will forever refer to them right now. They don't want to keep it around. They want to burn the book. Vincenzo, they tell me you have a book that you have been preaching, the strange doctrine. You must burn the book. I don't know if anybody caught that when I used that clip in a previous video a month or two ago, but it was intended to have the church leaders be represented by the Catholic leaders. And me, Vincenzo.